5 years with Leah felt like a lifetime, and I always assumed our marriage was strong. After all, isn't that what everyone wants to think? A lifetime in all the best ways, or so I persuaded myself. She was the lively one in the relationship. I kept the house running efficiently, being a more reserved person while she was a social butterfly who loved attention. I focused on long-term goals, my job, and the bills, while Leah was the catalyst that kept things exciting. Everything was wonderful, or so I believed, until tiny cracks in our idyllic SoCal life began to appear, like faint hairline fractures. They weren't obvious at first, but deepened over time. Leah had a habit of dismissing important topics, constantly switching subjects. When I asked how her day went after work, she would grin and tell me some little story. Something funny about a friend or a new dish she wanted to try. It always felt like she was avoiding something more serious. I ignored it. Financially, I carried most of the burden. My job was lucrative, so I took care of the major expenses: mortgage, car payments, savings. Leah, on the other hand, had a passion for photography and ran a tiny business that seemed more like a hobby than a job. I supported the idea. She paid for food and small personal expenses, or at least that's what I thought. Then she started asking for more. "Business is slow this month," she would say. At first, I didn't mind giving her extra money for supplies. She was my wife. Of course I'd help her. But then, with that smile on her face, she began asking, "Can I use your card for this?" More frequently, casually. Years ago, I had fallen for her completely, and I hardly ever thought about what was mine and what was hers. Trust is key in marriage, right? Then came the late nights. Leah had always been outgoing, but she started staying out later. Her reasons became hazier. Networking events, girls' nights out. Sometimes, she'd come home with shopping bags, claiming she'd found amazing deals or received gifts. I never questioned her. I thought I'd be a bad husband if I did. But one particular evening stuck with me. We were eating dinner when her phone, which usually buzzed nonstop, suddenly stopped. Every time she glanced at the screen, she would grin and place it face down on the table. When I teased her about her popularity, she laughed it off and changed the subject. I didn't think much of it at the time, but something felt off. Slowly, the distance between us grew. Leah was still affectionate in her own way, but our connection felt thinner, like a thread wearing down over time. I chalked it up to stress. Maybe she needed space. Maybe she was worried about her business. I told myself it was nothing. She'd tell me when she was ready. Then came the moment that changed everything. One morning over coffee, Leah asked for something unusual. "I need more access to our joint account," she said, stirring her drink, "just for some big business expenses." Her tone was casual, practiced. Without thinking, I added her to the account. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. Looking back, I realize I would have given her anything if she needed it. The signs had been there all along. The late nights, the vague excuses, the persistent requests for money. But I ignored them. I didn't want to believe that something was wrong. Leah loved me. That was enough, right? If only I had seen it coming. If only I had realized the cracks before the entire foundation collapsed. Hindsight is always perfect. It all began with a single social media swipe that shattered my world. After work, it was just another quiet evening. I was scrolling through my feed, political rants, dumb memes, vacation pictures, when I stopped cold. Leah, my Leah, smiling, standing on a Hawaiian beach, wearing a dress I had never seen before. The caption read, "Paradise with my love. Blessed and in love." I blinked. My thumb hovered over the screen. As I scrolled, my heart pounded. There were more pictures. Leah standing close to a man. In some, they looked like the happiest couple in the world, his arm wrapped around her. His family surrounding them, toasting with champagne glasses. I reread the caption. I must have misread it. But the next post confirmed everything. So grateful for my fiancé's amazing family. I'm the luckiest woman alive. Fiancé. I stared at the screen. Hawaii. An engagement. To another man. There had to be an explanation. Maybe these were old photos. Maybe she was traveling for work and ended up in someone else's pictures. But then, I saw the date. That morning. My hands began to shake as I clicked through more images. Leah laughing with his family. Leah sipping cocktails on a yacht. Leah standing in front of a 5-star resort I recognized, the kind of place you only dream about unless you're rich. And that's when it hit me. All those credit card charges I had ignored. The business. Expenses. A wave of dread washed over me as I opened my banking app. Transaction after transaction. Thousands of dollars. First-class flights, luxury resorts, spa treatments, gourmet dinners. She had spent my money on their dream vacation. Every dollar felt like a punch to the gut. I had paid for everything, and she had never once mentioned she was planning a trip. She had lied to me, stolen from me. And now she was halfway across the world, celebrating her new life with another man, using the money I worked for. I sat there, frozen. How long had this been? Going on? How had I missed it? Every late night? Every secretive text? It all made sense now. This wasn't impulsive. It had been planned, coldly, meticulously. And the worst part? It wasn't just about the money. She hadn't just drained my accounts. She had taken everything, my trust, my support, my belief in us, and used it to start a life with someone else. And she didn't even try to hide it. She posted it online as if I didn't exist. For a moment, I just sat there, paralyzed by betrayal, by anger, by humiliation. But then, something inside me shifted. Disbelief turned into cold clarity. I had been blind, but I wasn't stupid. She thought she could get away with it. She thought I was just some idiot she could use. She was wrong. She wanted paradise. Let's see how she liked it when it all came crashing down. I opened my banking app. Step 1. Cut her off. No more access. No more spending. No more free ride. Step 2. Make sure she never forgets the cost of betrayal. And so, with a few taps, I canceled everything. The flights, the hotel reservations, the spa treatments, the private yacht, everything. Let's see how she enjoys paradise now. Standing in the center of the huge WEA with fiancé Todd and the whole Anderson clan, Leah's face was a mixture of dread and desperation as the resort lobby appeared to be trying out for a soap drama. As she clashed with the hotel personnel, Todd stood rigidly beside her, his arms crossed and his jaw clenched. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, meanwhile, were furious, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. One camera captured the exact moment when Leah was shouting in the middle of a sentence, grabbing the attention of every visitor in the lobby. Her tone was harsh and unsteady, as if there had been some mistake. "We were supposed to be VIP visitors," she cried. The competent and composed concierge, on the verge of hysteria, only responded, I apologize, ma'am, but the card that was on file has been deactivated and no other payment method has been offered. Imagine being this entitled and then learning that you're broke. The cringe is real. In the terrible video, doesn't she, in my opinion, check her finances before taking a $40,000 vacation? Sadly, the staff had to deal with these individuals. Depending on your perspective, the next video was either better or worse. Observe how Todd's father, Mr. Anderson, was speaking loudly enough for Leah to hear across the marble floors. "You told us everything was taken care of. You assured us that this trip would be paid for by you. What type of person would fabricate such a claim?" Leah was obviously upset and attempted to defend herself. "There was a payment mix-up. It wasn't my fault." "This isn't a small mistake," Mr. Anderson spat. "And now we're stuck here without a hotel, no events, and no flights back because of you." At last, Todd spoke, his voice lower but no less stinging. Leah, what's actually happening here? How are you? You could see the wheels spinning in his mind as his trust began to erode. The moment Leah's face turned pale, her typical assurance gave way to something more akin to terror. She mumbled something about dealing with it, but it was too late. The harm had already been done. The icing on the cake? Leah snapped at the Andersons. Oh, stop, stop! You're being greedy! If you can't afford to spend a few nights in Hawaii, maybe you shouldn't have come in the first place. Even through the low-quality phone footage, Mrs. Anderson's gasp could be heard. You invited us to this trip, she repeated, her voice trembling with rage. Do you realize how humiliating this is? You promised us everything would be covered, and now you're calling us greedy? We're done, Todd said simply, pulling the engagement ring off Leah's finger and slipping it into his pocket. His parents followed him, leaving Leah standing by herself in the foyer, surrounded by other visitors' critical looks. My phone vibrated constantly as people messaged me, asking if I had seen the videos. Friends were putting two and two together, but the best part? Leah's desperate attempt to control the narrative. That night, she posted on Instagram, "Sometimes people betray you when you need them most devastated, yet stronger than ever. Toxic people." Moving on, she was obviously trying to paint herself as the victim. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I posted a simple, straightforward message. Leah's Hawaii trip was fully paid for using my money. I only found out after it was too late. I won't be disrespected or used. I didn't even need to add screenshots or names. The comments flooded in instantly. Wait, she used your money for her engagement vacation? Bro, good for you. Leah's post makes way more sense now. She really thought she could get away with this? By the end of the night,